Pope Leo saved Rome from Attila's wrath, a divine act. This is the story of how a single, unarmed man confronted the Scourge of God and through an event shrouded in mystery, saved an empire. Was it a miracle, a clever ploy, or a mere hallucination? The answer continues to echo through the annals of time, challenging our understanding of faith, power, and the forces that shape destiny. In the year 452 AD, a shadow of unprecedented terror stretched across the heart of Europe. Attila the Hun, a name whispered with dread from the steppes of Asia to the shores of the Atlantic, stood as the undisputed master of destruction. His reputation preceded him like a storm cloud, a harbinger of absolute devastation. For years, his Hunnic hordes had swept across the continent, a relentless tide of horsemen and fury. Cities that had stood for centuries crumbled before his might, their populations put to the sword, their treasures plundered, and their very existence erased from the map. From the Byzantine Empire in the east, where he had extorted vast tributes, to the fertile plains of Gaul, where he had clashed with Roman and Visigothic forces at the Catalonian plains, Attila left behind a trail of blood and ashes. He was not merely a conqueror, he was, in the terrified eyes of his victims, the Scourge of God, an instrument of divine wrath sent to punish a decadent world. Now his gaze, sharp and predatory, was fixed upon the ultimate prize, Rome. The eternal city, once the undisputed mistress of the world, now lay vulnerable, a shadow of its former glory. The Western Roman Empire, fractured and weakened by internal strife, economic decay, and constant barbarian incursions, was teetering on the brink of collapse. Emperor Valentinian III, a figurehead more concerned with court intrigues than the defense of his realm, proved utterly powerless in the face of the Hunnic threat. His legions, once the envy of the world, were depleted and demoralized, scattered across distant frontiers, or simply non-existent. There was no army capable of standing against Attila's vast, battle-hardened forces, which had just ravaged northern Italy, sacking cities like Aquileia, Milan, and Pavia with brutal efficiency. Panic, thick and suffocating, gripped the streets of Rome. Its citizens, accustomed to imperial might, now faced an enemy unlike any they had ever known. An enemy that offered no quarter, respected no treaties, and whose very name promised annihilation. The Senate, the military, the imperial court, all were paralyzed by fear and indecision. It seemed inevitable that Rome, the symbolic heart of Western civilization, would suffer the same horrific fate as so many other cities. But in this moment of utter despair, when all military and political avenues seemed exhausted, an unexpected figure stepped forward. Not a general, not an emperor, but a pope. This was Pope Leo I, a man whose intellectual prowess and spiritual authority had already earned him the moniker the Great. Born in Tuscany around 400 AD, Leo had risen through the ranks of the Roman clergy, gaining a reputation as a brilliant theologian, a skilled administrator, and a formidable orator. His pontificate, which began in 440 AD, was marked by his vigorous defense of Orthodox Christian doctrine, most notably at the Council of Chalcedon in 451 AD, where his Tome of Leo played a pivotal role in defining the nature of Christ. He was a master diplomat, a shrewd negotiator, and a shepherd deeply committed to his flock. Yet, even with such a distinguished career, nothing could have prepared him for the crisis of 452 AD. With Rome's secular leadership in disarray, Leo recognized that he alone possessed the moral authority and courage to act. He made a decision that was as audacious as it was desperate. He would ride out to meet Attila the Hun, armed with nothing but his faith, a small entourage of Roman dignitaries, and the profound weight of his spiritual office. Pope Leo set forth from Rome. His destination was the plains near the Po River, where Attila's army was encamped, poised for its final assault. There were no legions to protect him, no weapons to brandish, only the power of persuasion and the unwavering conviction of his mission. What was he thinking? Was it an act of suicidal bravery, or a calculated gamble born of profound spiritual certainty? Historians of the time, such as Prosper of Aquitaine, recorded that Leo offered Attila a substantial tribute of gold and promises of future payments, along with appeals to the Hunnic leader's sense of mercy and perhaps even superstition. They also suggested that Leo reminded Attila of the fate of Alaric, the Visigothic king who had sacked Rome in 410 AD and died shortly thereafter, implying a divine retribution for those who dared to desecrate the holy city. Yet, alongside these pragmatic explanations, ancient legends began to whisper of something far more extraordinary, something supernatural that transcended mere diplomacy. The question lingered: was Rome saved by gold and clever words, or by the direct intervention of God? The meeting itself must have been a scene of stark contrast and immense tension. On one side stood Attila, the fearsome warrior, surrounded by his hardened Hunnic chieftains, their faces grim and their eyes reflecting the savagery of countless battles. His camp, a sprawling, chaotic expanse of tents and horses, reeked of conquest and impending violence. On the other side, a small, vulnerable delegation led by Pope Leo, a man of peace in flowing robes, his face etched with wisdom and resolve. As Leo pleaded for the lives of Rome's citizens, for the preservation of its sacred sites, and perhaps for the very soul of the barbarian king, an extraordinary event unfolded. According to the chronicles, Attila, who had listened with an air of dismissive arrogance, suddenly froze. His expression, usually a mask of unyielding ferocity, contorted into one of profound shock and terror. He claimed to see a towering figure, radiant and awe-inspiring, hovering in the sky directly above Pope Leo. This figure, described as a man in white robes, some accounts identifying him as Saint Peter, the first pope, or even an avenging angel, wielded a drawn, flaming sword. The spectral warrior, Attila insisted, threatened him with eternal damnation and death if he dared to advance further and attack Rome. Attila, the Scourge of God who had never known fear, turned pale. His hands trembled. To the utter astonishment of his own generals, who saw nothing but the clear Italian sky, Attila, the conqueror of empires, gave an immediate and unequivocal order: retreat. The Hunnic army, poised to strike, turned its back on Rome and began its long, arduous journey back across the Alps. Rome was spared. The relief that swept through the city was immeasurable, a collective gasp of gratitude and disbelief. Was this a genuine divine intervention, a miracle witnessed by the barbarian king? Was it a hallucination, brought on by the immense stress of his campaigns? Perhaps a fever, or even a guilty conscience stirred by Leo's words? Or could it have been a clever psychological ploy by Pope Leo, perhaps leveraging Attila's own superstitions or an opportune natural phenomenon, like a rare solar eclipse or a mirage, to create such a powerful illusion? Historians like Edward Gibbon, while acknowledging the event, often lean towards more pragmatic explanations, suggesting that Attila's army was already weakened by disease and stretched supply lines, or that he had received news of reinforcements for the Roman and Visigothic forces, making a direct assault on Rome too risky. Yet, the medieval accounts, particularly those emphasizing the vision of Saints Peter and Paul with swords, persist, cementing the event in the realm of the miraculous and the legendary. The ambiguity of the vision's origin remains a captivating enigma, inviting endless debate and speculation. The aftermath of this extraordinary encounter further deepened its mystique. Barely a year after his retreat from the gates of Rome, Attila the Hun died mysteriously in 453 AD. The official account states he suffered a severe nosebleed on his wedding night, choking to death in his sleep. However, rumors of poisoning, perhaps by his new bride Ildiko, or by agents of the Roman or Gothic empires, quickly circulated. With his death, the vast, terrifying Hunnic Empire, which had been held together solely by his formidable will, rapidly disintegrated, its constituent tribes scattering and its power vanishing almost as quickly as it had appeared. Pope Leo the Great, on the other hand, continued his illustrious pontificate until his death in 461 AD. He went on to further define Christology, solidify the authority of the papacy, and even played a role in negotiating with the Vandals when they sacked Rome in 455 AD, though with less success than with Attila. His legacy as a spiritual leader and a defender of Rome was cemented, and he remains one of only 2 popes to be officially known as the Great. This pivotal encounter between Pope Leo and Attila the Hun has resonated through history, symbolizing the triumph of faith and diplomacy over brute force. It has inspired countless works of art, literature, and even modern films, becoming a cornerstone of the narrative of Rome's enduring resilience and the power of divine protection. The vision itself, whether a miracle, a psychological manipulation, or a convenient historical narrative, undeniably saved an empire from what seemed like certain doom. It stands as a testament to the profound impact that belief, courage, and a single, decisive moment can have on the trajectory of civilization. The debate over the vision's true nature continues to fascinate, reminding us that history is not always a clear-cut sequence of facts, but often a rich tapestry woven with threads of human experience, faith, and the enduring mystery of the unknown. Did faith truly stop the Huns, or were there other, more earthly forces at play? The question remains, inviting each generation to ponder the incredible tale of the Pope, the Hun, and the flaming sword.